Thanks for tuning in to the Carbon Capture and Storage Summit podcast. I'm your host, John Nelson. Joining me is Danielle Piekarski, the content manager and editor for Carbon Capture magazine. Today, our special guest is Elizabeth Burns-Thompson. She is the Vice President of Government and Public Affairs at Navigator CO2. She will be speaking at the Carbon Capture and Storage Summit on Monday, June 13th, and her presentation is titled CCUS in Action, the Heartland Greenway Project. Elizabeth, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So why don't we just start out with you telling us a little about what the Heartland Greenway project is?
Sure. So the Heartland Greenway, developed by our team broadly here at the Navigator CO2, it is going to be kind of a first of its kind carbon management platform. So what that will ultimately, or what we're designing it to look like, is kind of an integrated piece of dynamic infrastructure that's going to connect many ethanol producers here across the broader corn and soybean belt, as well as other kind of value-added ag processors across that footprint as well, with a tangible piece of infrastructure to be able to substantially reduce their carbon footprint. Our projected footprint for the project is really over 5 states here in the Midwest, the bulk of that being in the state of Iowa. We do have legs that'll go into, or proposed to go into Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, ultimately, as well as capturing from some facilities in Illinois as well. Ultimately, we're looking to gather all of that CO2, transport it ultimately to a sequestration site that we'll be developing in South Central or Central Illinois.
Great. And why Illinois for the sequestration site?
A fantastic question.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and one of the more common questions that we get as part of a lot of the outreach that we've done in relation to the project and kind of the technology thus far, but sequestration is unique in that only certain pockets around the United States have those deep geological layers to the size and scale that allow for this type of sequestration and for the large kind of underground injection wells that are necessary for it. A lot of that work, that geological work, has been done in the central Illinois area. Specifically, the geological formation that we are looking at is the Mount Simon. The U.S. Department of Energy, as well as the Illinois Geological Survey, have done a lot of that preemptive work, analysis, in kind of the decades prior, in large part because, this particular area is also unique in that it's one of the few that's actually home to this type of activity right now, and has been for the better part of the decade, with ADM kind of teeing off this activity with their demonstration facility as part of their Decatur ethanol plant and CCS activity as part of that. So a lot of industry learnings that we can take advantage of as part of that geology, and the work that's been done there that we think will also be transferable into helping make our projects a success as well.
Illinois. I know there's, geologically, we see some activity in North Dakota as well. So that's interesting to see it in Illinois. That's a great location, obviously, logistically. So great.
Other than the permanent storage and reduction of emissions, what are some other benefits to the Heartland Greenway project?
Sure. So carbon capture is really unique in that it's not only a dual-faceted or kind of dynamic platform, but the benefits are multifaceted as well. So there's the environmental drivers, which we kind of talk about in terms of that reduction of GHG, specifically CO2 emissions, and those kind of quantifiable carbon benefits that are associated with that. But what I talk about regularly is that carbon is a quantifiable characteristic that also determines the economic value associated with those end products as well. So, providing additional market opportunities and higher valuation of end products, be that specifically in relation to the facilities we're partnering with, higher value associated with that end gallon of ethanol or potentially that end ton of fertilizer. provide additional longevity and market competitiveness for all of those facilities. I think another unique value proposition, especially when you look at the cross section of facilities, at least at the initial set that are participating, not only in our Heartland Greenway project, but a lot of kind of the talk about CCS broadly is in that space of ethanol and fertilizer right now. And if you talk, carbon is something that, my background is largely in agriculture. I'm a farm kid originally from Eastern Iowa. So, I've watched the evolution of discussion about carbon, especially in agriculture, as well as those value-added ag industries. And so when you think about what a project like ours specifically looks like, we are helping reduce the carbon intensity of what is a very critical input to a farming operation with fertilizer. Well, if you have lower carbon intensity input going into the farm, coupled with all of the, innovative activities that farmers are continuing and expanding to do on their farms to reduce the carbon intensity of the products that they're producing, that end bushel of corn or soybeans, you're then bringing a lower CI bushel of grain into the processing facility to begin with, right? Again, that a quantifiable benefit there, which are then, going through with processors that have also partnered with this type of technology to further reduce their process emissions. So it's a really unique kind of cyclical evolution of benefits, all revolving kind of largely around carbon, but this technology being able to provide value at a lot of different points of that kind of production cycle and value chain.
Yeah, we usually like to end things on a fun question here, and to play into your upbringing, we were curious how that affected your passion for agricultural affairs growing up as a farm kid.
As an Iowa farm kid.
Absolutely. Well, I joke that, many of us are still and have continued to do the work from home. I've probably, so in my home office, I'm probably one of few that actually decorates with corn as well as, having all that. But it is integral to who I am, where I came from, and what I think, we can do and be successful with, not only from a professional perspective, but also, inherently personally important as well. I've also personally seen what these types of processors, especially the ethanol industry, means for small rural communities like the one I grew up in. And so making sure that, industries can continue to have the opportunities to grow and evolve and continue to be competitive is incredibly important, but especially for those of us that are, calling home here in the Corn Belt. So
great. Yeah, it really shows you have passion for it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, again, we're chatting with Elizabeth Burns-Thompson from Navigator CO2. She will be speaking Monday, June 13th at the Carbon Capture and Storage Summit, co-located with FEW, and it'll be on Monday, June 13th. Again, Elizabeth, we appreciate you being here and joining us today and sharing some of your information with us, and we look forward to seeing your presentation.
I'm looking forward to being there and seeing everyone as well. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.